everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, we're going to learn how to make a crochet scrunchie. Now, some of you may not have heard the word scrunchie in many years, but they are slowly making a comeback, and I've been seeing more and more of them in different stores and on Pinterest and places like that. So I thought, for us crocheters, I thought it would be really fun to stitch up one of our own and have a little yarny touch to them. So this is about 4 inches across, and essentially we're going to be making a tube, a tall, narrow crochet tube. We're going to be putting some elastic in there and seaming it up at the end. So our tube is going to be tall. It's going to be about 13 inches tall. But we're going to be using some really simple single crochet stitches. Now I happen to use a variegated yarn, but you can use solids. You could kind of make a set of these as well. But these are really fun and really popular right now. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook. You'll need a tapestry needle, a pair of scissors. You'll need some elastic. You can get this in the sewing aisle. I wouldn't go too much wider than this. If it gets too wide, it makes it a little bit tougher to stretch. You could go probably a little bit wider, but not too much wider than what I have here. And also your yarn. I'm going to be using Red Heart with Love. Now we're going to start with this Red Heart with Love stripes in the leisure stripe. But I also made another one because essentially we're making a tube. But I made another one in the parade colorway so you can see how both colors kind of play out. So we'll revisit this one a little bit later in the video. But we're going to get started with the leisure stripe colorway. Okay, this is super easy. We're just going to be using some really easy single crochet stitches. So what we want to do is wrap the yarn around our fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with the hook, bring up the loop, and tighten. Next, we're going to chain 12. And like I mentioned just a minute ago, we're going to be making this long tube, okay? So we're going to be working, making a ring and working from the bottom up, okay? So to make a chain, wrap your yarn around hook, bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now what we want to do is join in the chain farthest from our hook. So go all the way down to the end here, that first chain you made, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to create that ring. So insert the hook into that chain farthest from the hook, wrap yarn around hook, bring up a loop. Now you'll have 2 loops on your hook. So bring the first loop through the loop that's already on your hook, and now we're joined. So we have the bottom part of our tube that we'll be creating. Okay, so what we're going to do is chain 1, just like that, and then we're going to just kind of leave this tail alone for now, okay? And then we're going to work a single crochet in every chain all the way around. So this opening here that you see is where we join, so you're going to go to that next chain, and we want to work a single crochet. So insert your hook into that first chain you come to, bring up a loop, you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops, okay? Do the same thing in the next chain. Bring up a loop, yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Let me just get a little bit more yarn here. We're going to work a single crochet in the next chain. Single crochet in the next chain we come to. Single crochet in the next chain. And in the next chain all the way around. Just like that, okay? Now, with these kind of variegated yarns that we're using today, you can use solid yarns, of course, too. But the colors will kind of play out on their own, so you don't really need to change colors. Now, the stripes is more of a slow striping one, and this parade colorway I have here is kind of more of a print. So you're going to get some slower color changes with the stripes. Okay, so it just really depends on what kind of look you're after. So with this one, you'd have like a section of the charcoal, a section of the pink, a section of the blue, and so forth. Okay, so I'm just working my last single crochets, and now we're at the beginning of the round. So remember that chain 1 we did? What we want to do is go into that chain 1, insert into that chain where we began, bring up a loop, now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. So that is the join with a slip stitch to close the round. So now we have the bottom part of our scrunchie tube. So we're ready to move on to round 2. Okay, so for round 2, it's very similar to round 1. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work a single crochet in each stitch. So remember the last round we worked a single crochet in every chain. Well, now we have some stitches to work through. So if you're not familiar with how this looks, see this little loop at the top? That's the stitch. You're going to work your hook into that. So insert your hook into the stitch, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Okay? So just work a single crochet in every stitch all the way around. And you can see, because we're using the Red Heart with Love is a little bit thicker of a yarn, and the K hook is a little bit bigger yarn, so it'll stitch up pretty fast. So you could make a couple of these. These make nice little gifts. And the scrunchie is back. I never thought it would come back, but it is back. I've been seeing them in stores, so super fun. I had a ton of them back in the day. So lots of fun. All right, so when we get back to the beginning of the round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to close the round. Now sometimes, for those of you who are beginners, sometimes we kind of lose, especially with the single crochet stitches, that was a mouthful, but we kind of can't find where we began. So you might want to grab a little stitch marker or a safety pin and just kind of clip it on there before you begin the round, so you know when you come back to it where it is, okay? All right, so for round 2, for the rest of your scrunchie tube that we're crocheting, you're just going to keep repeating round 2 over and over and over, and then let's slide this over and come back over, because I went ahead and worked up my single crochets round 2 over and over until my piece was approximately, and I'll show you, was approximately 13 inches tall. Whoops, let me just slide that around so you can see that. 13 inches tall, okay? So let me grab my hook. Okay, so I was just joining mine with a slip stitch to close the round, and then you're just going to bring it through that loop and pull it all the way through, okay? So let's go ahead and assemble. We're going to, for now, leave our tails intact. So we have this nice long tube, and we're going to grab our elastic. Now I have a big long piece of this that I dug out from my sewing machine area, my sewing kit by my sewing machine. So I haven't used this in a long time. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece about the size of a scrunchie. It doesn't have to be exact, but what we want to do is sort of measure. So what we need to do is figure out the width that we want our scrunchie to be. And this we purposely made a little bit longer because it's going to slouch up and make that iconic scrunchy circular look, okay? So what we want to do is, now I cut a piece, let me grab my tape measure so I can show you this, and then that way you can replicate it yourself. So take a piece of elastic that's about the 13 inches of your scrunchie. And then what you're going to do is, you're not going to use all this, but it's a good way to get a rough measurement of this. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pieces and we're going to eventually tie them. But what we want to do first is kind of feed it through our tube, okay? Leaving those tails in place for now. Okay, so the next step we want to do now that we've cut it is to feed it through this tube. Now I want to show you a little trick because it's hard, because this is flexible, to try to send it through there. I have a stitch holder that you normally use for knitting, or you can use a safety pin. But if you put this on your elastic, and I have to, this isn't very sharp at this end, so I have to kind of pop it through. But if you put it on there and close it up, slide it around, it's very easy to feed it through this tube. Okay, so we're just sending this through with our tool here. Now if you've ever made an elastic waist skirt with sewing, this process might look a little bit familiar because you know, you'll have to do this to send that through a waistband, for example. So you can undo your safety pin when you get to the other end here. And then what we're going to do is grab the other end, is down here, and we're going to tie it. Okay, so we're going to kind of pull it up and scrunch it down. And then we're going to tie it. Now you want to get the amount of slouch that you're after. I kind of like how this looks. The more you push it down, the more slouch you're going to get. The more you lift up, the more loose it's going to look, okay? So just kind of get it how you want it to look. I'm going to push mine down, and then we're going to take the two ends, wrap them around your fingers, and make a nice secure knot. Just like that, okay? Now we have that nice slouch still. And I'm going to do one more knot just to make sure everything is nice and secure. Okay. So everything's nice and neat. Now you can trim the ends of your elastic. And then we need to do something to close this up. So take your longer tail. You can tuck the other tail down inside of the scrunchie. And we're going to take our tapestry needle and we're just going to sew it closed. Okay? So what you want to do is thread your tapestry needle. Now if you don't have a tail that's long enough, you could always cut a new piece of yarn and just kind of do it that way. But what we're going to do is we're going to have these two meet up like this, and we're just going to go in one side, come out the other side, okay? So we're just going to take this all the way around our scrunchie, just like that. And you want to get your stitches nice and neat, and make sure you have enough yarn to go around the whole thing, and this will look really nice. It'll kind of just blend in when you're done seaming it up, okay? But make sure you get it in both of these layers, okay? Go in through the one end, come out the other end, and just pull. Now, the type of stitch we're doing is pretty much a spiral, also known as the whip stitch. So as you go around, you can kind of turn it inside out, and you can see we have a little bit more to go here. So just go, go in one side, come out the other side, okay? Go in one side, come out the other, all the way around. I'm getting to the end here where I began, which is a good thing because I'm almost out of yarn. My tail was just barely long enough to fit around this thing. But our whip stitch will hold it nice and neat onto or hold the ends in nice and neat for us. All right, so let's just come back around one more time, and we're at the beginning. So I'm going to go in that last loop I just made, and I'm going to create a knot and just not pull it all the way through and send that end through, okay? Now, I wanted to show you one more thing. When you go to weave in your ends like this, now mine keeps popping off. I think it's because it's my plies are untwisting because I've been fiddling with it so much. But what you're going to do to weave in the ends is super easy. Is go into the scrunchie, go way, way, way in there, come out the other end, and just pull it through. Now see how it popped through? Now give it a tug and snip, and then when you straighten it out, it'll be all nice and in place, okay? So that is how you crochet a scrunchie, and ours turned out so super cute. I'm going to keep working on this one with my other striping pattern and see how that one comes out too. But that's it. That's how you make a crochet scrunchie. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.